Hello, everyone. I hope you are having a happy Friday and get to enjoy the beautiful weather that we're having. So just to remind you all what exactly I'm doing for my internship, in case you haven't tuned into my other blogs, I am teaching a recitation for ALS 114, which is the career decision making class. The thing that I think I've learned the most about this term has been just about first year students in general, and kind of what the expectations are for working with first year students. I've also been taking a first year student experience class this term with Chris Winters, as well as a Success in the College Classroom class, which is actually technically a microbiology class, but it's for graduate students to learn about good teaching techniques for college students. And both of those classes have been great for helping me to understand a lot of the concepts and experiences that I'm having in the class that I'm teaching. The first thing that I'll talk about is the fact that first year students come in at all different skill levels. So that's something that we've talked about in my first year experience class, and that students have different experiences in high school, and an A at one high school is different from an A at another high school, um, and I think that definitely shows. I feel like the class that I have is definitely kind of a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get. And going after grading their papers, I've noticed that there's definitely a discrepancy in writing skill levels. And most of the time, I'm not grading very much on their writing skills. I'm more interested in content, but I try to communicate with them that if I see some students who might be struggling with their writing structure, I try and let them know that going to the writing center might help them, not just for these papers, but for papers in the future. So I hope they take my advice on that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was that first year students don't have experience in small classes. So this is the second term that my students have had, and I noticed that during the first couple classes that students really weren't very willing to talk in a large group setting, have large group discussions, which as a graduate student, I'm so used to having large group discussions, and it was kind of mind-blowing because I'm like, what? Why wouldn't you want to do a large group discussion? But I actually ended up asking them, how many of you have had classes where you've had large group discussions? And actually none of them had courses previously that had done that before. And so I think that was part of the hesitation. And then also in my Success in the College Classroom course, I've learned that a lot of times students, it takes them a while to kind of be able to trust you and feel comfortable. And so for that reason, a lot of times it's better to do small group discussions and then sharing with the large group, because students tend to be more comfortable sharing with each other, just because of that intimidation factor, which I would have thought wouldn't be there as much because I'm a graduate student and not an actual professor, but I still think that that was there. And now that I've had them for 8 weeks, I can definitely feel a difference in comfort level, and they're much more willing to share with the large group now than they were. And I think part of that is that building of trust. But for a while in the beginning, I would have them do a lot of small group sharing, so because they were just much more actively involved in that, and I wanted to make sure that I could engage them as much as possible. And if they weren't going to engage in the large group discussion, then I needed to make sure that they were at least engaging with their peers. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that students that are coming in, a lot of them, I believe, have low expectations about the ALS class. I'm not sure if it's because it's an ALS class or because it's a 100 level class, but many of them were surprised by the amount of work they had to do and how much they were required to be in attendance in class in order to receive good grades. And that sort of moves into the other section, the next section I want to talk about, which is that most of the students coming in have an expectation that they'll be receiving an A. And they are not shy about telling me about that. And so it took them a while to figure out that I wasn't going to give them an A just because they were trying and showing up to class. But that they had earned their A's by, meeting the requirements of the course and also the rubrics for each of their assignments. However, I think that also taught me to be very specific about my expectations for their homework. And another thing that I learned about in my college classroom success class was the fact that students tend to you tend to lose their attention and their engagement within the last 10 minutes of class, which I totally experience. I feel like at the last 10 minutes of class, students start packing up, and I can feel all the distraction and the energy that is going away, and the fact that they are so antsy that it makes me antsy. It makes me feel pressured to like spit out my last assignments before I can just usher them out. And I don't want to waste their time. I don't want to hold them over. And so that was an issue in the beginning of my classes because I would just kind of follow our step-by-step instructions for the recitation that Tiffany's given us, which are great, but she always has the assignments where we hand out the assignments and talk about their assignments at the end of the course. And what I found was that it would be in the last 10 minutes, students would stop paying attention, they would start packing up, and they wouldn't hit on some of the points that I tried to emphasize during class. And so then after learning about the fact that, you lose their attention in the last 10 minutes, I also learned that they have the best attention within the first 15 minutes of class. And so what I ended up doing was I changed it up, and so now whenever I'm giving out assignments, I give them out at the beginning of class, and I specifically talk about the assignments in the beginning of class. And I also have students, like if I give them a rubric, I have them underline specific parts. I have them write notes next to specific parts of the rubric so that they know exactly what I'm looking for. And then I also know that they're engaging and listening because they have to get out their pencils and actually do something with the rubric. And that's, I think, made a really big difference in how well they're doing on their assignments. They're allowed to do rewrites in this class, but I've had to do significantly less rewrites since I started doing that, and I really feel like students have a better grasp of the information when I do it that way. This is my puppy Wardo. He wanted to say hello. Bye. Have a good day.